Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Alright, if you're new here, my name is Eddie. I do car reviews, I do BMW content, I do content on most cars that I have. But also do car advice and other things. But this video is going to be about your new car. Let's say you bought a brand new BMW, or it could be Honda, anything that you like and you want to preserve. Obviously brand new cars are nice. They're nice and shiny from the factory. There's no rock chips on the hood. Everything's very clean and pristine. So what are some ways you can do, or what are some things you can do to protect your car? Okay, one of my favorite things that I like to do, and this is my first brand new car, is this Honda Civic. Now, my wife has brought a couple of brand new cars before, and one of the things I told her to do right away was, before you really start driving the car, or if you know you're gonna buy a car, get an appointment to get some PPF, or paint protection film, also known as a clear bra, on the car. Okay, let me tell you why. This BMW I bought used, okay? Now, when I purchased it, it already had 40,000 miles on it. And the problem was, this car, I mean, from the camera view, it looks pretty good. You can't tell anything about it. It looks like it's been in pretty good shape. The paint's in good condition. But that's from this, being a few feet away. When you get close, however, there's a few things you notice. Look at the imperfections in the paint. Look at those little specks, all of that. As we come up the hood, you'll see that there's some touch-up paint here from the previous owner, or it could be the dealership. There's some more rock chips here. There's more rock chips. And these rock chips, rock chip here and there is not gonna be bad. But when you start adding it up to several, like say rock chips, and then look at the front bumper, it's just pitted bad with rock chips, stones. These are things that you don't notice that is actually constantly flying off the roadways. The headlights have little pits in them. Now, I did a video on this where I didn't like the way it looked when they were on. I wet sanded these lights, got them back to new. But what you can do is you can apply a film over the headlight, similar to what you do on your phone, like a screen protector. And you'll preserve it. You'll, for one, keep it from fading. So if you park your car outside a lot, you'll prevent it from turning yellow, or getting the clear coat coming off. And the second of all, you'll add a layer of protection from impacts and stones. Similarly, you can actually get a transparent clear film that can protect your car from stones, and you won't be able to know it's there. Some people prefer to go for something that's more transparent. Now, I remember back in the day when people would put their black leather bras in the car for protection. Those offer protection too, but the problem was dirt and the breeze would get under it, and it was like sandpaper rubbing underneath the paint. Okay, that's more of a 90s, early 2000s thing that now these days you don't see that anymore. But clear paint protection film is the way to go. And there's cars you may not see without it. Like I said, I see these rock chips here. I know that these things are here. I know that they exist, and it's disappointing because the only way I can fix it now is to get the car either repainted, wet sanded, whatever they need to do to restore this paint. But the problem will be, will it match? Because you can match the exact paint that came from the factory, but then you mix old paint with new paint, and will it match the rest of the car? So it's important to preserve it from the beginning. There's two different styles you can get when you're shopping around. Most tint shops can do it, but other shops who specializes in PPF will offer you two different types. They're gonna offer you a partial or a full. Sometimes they'll do what they call a track pack, which will cover majority of the car. I'm gonna tell you the difference between all of those. A partial is only gonna cover the full front bumper. It's gonna cover down maybe the hood, but only a partial part of the hood. So I would say maybe 1/4 of the hood, you'll see a line that's go right here. You won't really notice it unless you're washing the car. You may see the edge of the line is very thin. Driving on the highway, no one's gonna notice it. You're really not gonna notice it hardly at all, but it'll get you the bare minimum. It'll get you most protection. Most of the rock chips are gonna occur obviously on the hood, front bumper. You may get a random stone up here somewhere, but the chances are very slim. But for some people, they don't like having a line. So some prefer to go ahead and take it all the way back through here. And shops sometimes prefer that because then they could then hide the line by tucking it around and then tucking it all through here. And also when they do the fenders, instead of stopping here, they can actually cover the whole entire front fender, okay? Also included in the partial and the full is the back of the mirrors, because this is again another impact point. All right, now when you go to the full gives you the A-pillar treatment. So usually up here, sometimes they'll cover that down there. And that's usually the extent of your full versus partial. All right, so full is gonna cover the whole front of the car, front fender is gonna be covered. And partial is gonna be, it's gonna have basically a line that's gonna stop here. All right, sometimes headlights are included, headlights and fog lights are included. If they're not, ask about it. It's ideal, because when you turn your headlights on, you want them to be clear. You don't want them to see a little, looks like you got water specks on them that stays there permanently. Next thing, if you go to a track pack, or some people do, if they have exotic cars, they'll wrap the whole car. But some track packs, what they'll do is they'll cover sometimes part of the top of the car too, because you know there's a curvature here, and like me, where I did have a little chip right there, random rock that flew up on my carbon fiber top. That's unfortunate. And then here, see how these fenders pop out right there? You can have protection up here too. All right, these lower guards for protection for the track pack, and that's usually it. Like just a lot of the fenders and things. The door cups obviously have some protection. So you have to decide which is best. All right, so one thing I wanted to show is this car has a full paint protection film over the front of it. And I'll show you how it was applied. You'll notice as I go across the front of the hood, there isn't a set line anywhere. You can look here, there's nothing. And right here is where they tuck the edges. The whole front of the hood is covered. The fenders are covered up to here. I believe the A-pillar might be covered. The back of the mirrors is covered. The film stops right here at the edge. You can see now they cut around this V8 bi-turbo, but some places will actually remove the logo, and then somehow they'll apply it in a way to make it a little bit better. But yeah, it comes all the way down. Everything's all tucked in. You can see a little bit where it's starting to flare just a tad. You can see where the film is. And they covered everything here. You can look and see where there's one seam right there, but this whole front bumper is covered. You can see right in there also where it's, you can barely tell it, but this whole, even the gloss portion is covered up. You can see barely where the edges are. Now, I did the headlights myself. The headlights weren't covered, so I bought the kit and I did it myself. I had trouble with it, so I did cut and split it right there to make it a little bit better, but overall, I think it came out pretty well. There's one little wrinkle here in the bottom, but nothing to be worried about. And you can see where some of the seams are, but they have to have these seams to make it better for fitting. I'm gonna cover this in a little bit more detail. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit better option as far as paint protection film, but I wanted to show you the difference between a partial and a full. Next thing I'm gonna talk about is ceramic coating, okay? Ceramic coating is a layer that goes above the clear coat, and you have paint protection film, it's gonna cover that too. It gives you a layer of hydrophobic coating, It can repel water. It can prevent bird droppings and water spots from eating into the paint. It is not 100% perfect. It is not 100% perfect, but what it can do is it can minimize your chances of getting extreme damage. Now, I'm not saying like if you get your bird poops in your car, leave it there for several weeks and not clean it off, but clean it off right away like you would normally do in a car, but it should hopefully prevent any damage. Because if you get a bird drop in your car, that's acidic. You can wipe it off, but you're always gonna see a little ring underneath the, at certain lights, and it can appear like there's a spot there that it'll never come off because that car needs to be kind of wet sanded and basically corrected for that to go away. You can wash, you can wax, you can polish a car, but waxing is going to require a reapplication in probably 3 months. Waxing gives you a great shine. I wax this car. I like the shine that it gives. I like sometimes to being therapeutic and be able just to have the time to polish the car out by hand. It just is relaxing for me. If you have a car that sits outside, or if you just say, you know what, I don't have the time to wash, I don't have time to wax my car like every 3 months because there's a lot of time. You do have to polish it before you do it. It's a lot of work that goes into it. What you'll do is there's a sealant that you can buy, and a sealant will last you about a year. Now they make ceramic sealants. They last about spray sealants. They last maybe a year, 6 months. But if you do a ceramic coating, which is, it has to be applied either professionally, or if you do it consumer like base, you have to know what you're doing. That means is if you have a bunch of scratches on your car, don't apply that ceramic coating because you're gonna lock that in there. It is a semi-permanent coating you're applying on top of the paint, and you're acting as a barrier. So there's scratches and imperfections underneath. You're gonna hide that. You're gonna keep that permanently there because you're gonna have that barrier there. You're not gonna be able to get that out. And typically your ceramic coatings, when you buy them, not the spray form, but the ones that can last maybe 3 to 5 years. Sometimes they have 9-year coatings, which I don't know if they last that long. But I would say 2 to 5 years, depending on how you care for it. They usually come in a bottle like this, like for example, this C quartz right there. Now this is a ceramic coating. This is all you need. You should be able to do maybe 3-4 cars with this. It all depends how much you use, but a little goes a long way with this. You have to be careful when you apply it because the paint has to be perfect. That means like you polish out, you got all the scratches out, you buff all the scratches, you decontaminate the paint, and then you rub it on. And what you're doing is you're applying it, and then you're not saying buffing it off, but you're removing the high spots. All right, so it stays on the paint. It's just you're just kind of leveling out the high spots. All right, and typically after it's applied, you do need maybe 24 hours to 72 hours of cure time before the car can be exposed into the elements. So that's another thing. Professional grade, usually they say wait a week before you do it. And also that means like no washing the car. The car, if it gets dirty, you have to let it just sit because it has to be cured. But between paint protection film and ceramic coating is probably the best ways to protect your car. Make sure it lasts, make sure it stays. I'm not sponsored by anything, by the way. This is just a one product I use. But it's just how you can maintain the car and make sure that it can maintain this showroom shine for years to come, okay? There's, for example, windshields. Windshields get pitted a lot. They get pit from rocks and stones, and then, obviously no one likes a crack in a windshield, has a windshield replaced, especially if you have these cameras for collision warning, things like that. When you have these sensors, stuff like that, that's going to be expensive to replace. So there's another thing you get called, I never used it before, but I've seen it. It's called Exo Shield, EXO Shield. And it's similar to like the tempered glass protector you put on your phone. Also, for maintaining your car, this last little bit I'm gonna provide. Maintaining your car as far as just regular washing. There are things you can do. If you have a bucket at home, Use a dedicated car wash soap such as Meguiar's Gold Class, something like that. If you have a pressure washer at home, you can get a foam cannon and you can pressure wash your vehicle. And what the pressure washer does when you foam it is it does look cool when you foam it, but what you're doing is there's dirt on the paint. Now you can pre-rinse it off all you want, but until you actually, the safe way to remove that is to foam it, have the foam act as a lubricant, kind of lift that dirt off the surface, and then you can now use your sponge and wipe it and then rinse it. Also, when you wash, it's important to have not only one bucket, but 2 buckets. Sometimes 3 will be better. But if you do have one bucket, be careful, because what happens is when you wash your car, all the dirt, contaminants, that stuff gets down into the bucket. You take your sponge, you rinse off your sponge, go back in there, now you picked up more dirt, and now that's how you add surface scratches. And then when you wash a car, you always start from clean to dirty. The dirty is always the bottom, so you'll do the top first, then you work your way down to the bottom half, okay? And this is where you have the 2 buckets come in handy. I usually just keep a whole separate bucket just for the lower portion of the car. This is where all the dirt's gonna be kicked up and thrown up onto the paint surface. So I don't wanna take this and put it up here. I wanna keep that out of the rest of everything else. And you'll see all that residue once you're done washing the car. You pour the bucket out, you'll see residue right there you picked up. Don't use those sponges anymore if you're using if you're hand washing. Use something like a microfiber mitt. Beneficial to obviously minimizing scratches, and it's soft, safe for your paint. Yeah, safe for your pressure washer. Foam cannon, make sure you get the one rated for your pressure washer. There's different pressures. This one's up to 3,000 PSI. And then you can buy certain solutions to mix in here, such as this Adam's Mega Foam. I use this one. And just a little, like a couple ounces goes in the water bottle, shake it up, and then you'll get foam. This is a good one here for just regular washing. If you just don't have the time or whatever, you can use this. This is good to use with the bucket. What if you live in an apartment or with a condo or somebody you don't have a place to wash, or if it's just too hot outside or you don't have the wash pad? Get a bucket, get a wash mitt. This right here. You'll be surprised with this stuff. This is Rinseless Wash and Wax from Griots Garage, and this stuff comes in handy quite a bit. You don't have to rinse your car off. You don't need a water hose. You just need a bucket of water. Pour a few ounces of this into the water, use your sponge, and wipe the car down. That's it. No pre-rinsing required. It's doesn't cause any scratches. You can wash the car from top to bottom, and then what you're doing is you're just applying it, washing the car, taking microfibers, and you're drying it off. That's it. No rinse needed. I think you don't want to do this in direct sunlight. Let me see if the instructions may say that too. So this thing can do multiple things besides a car wash. You can use this in your bucket wash. You can use this actually as lubricant for clay barring, and you can use this also to as a rinse aid for if you have a pressure washer of some type or some reservoir. You can spray on the car, kind of mist it before you dry it. It'll prevent water spots. So there's a few things that I just realized that this thing has. So maintaining it inside of your car, it's pretty easy. This is pretty easy for wipes down most surfaces like this one. It's easy to buy over the counter, and I think Griots Garage makes one too. Yeah, they do have one, so in an interior cleaner. Just spray it on and wipe it off, and it should remove everything, okay? Leather cleaner. Obviously you can use something like this. This is a conditioner, and this is a cleaner, okay? So some of my favorite things. There's also, if you have the Alcantara, like I said, I got the X. If you have the X5M, you have the Alcantara headliner, or if you have an Alcantara steering wheel, this is very nice to have. It cleans out the Alcantara, this micro suede. Something in between washes. anything like this, it's good to have in between. You can use that to, like I said, if you do get that random bird dropping or something on the car, you can wipe it off. That's perfect. That's perfect to use. And guys, there are several different things you can apply. I may have to do a whole separate video on the application of some of these things because I can spend here all day and talk to you about everything that's in that cabinet. But today, this video was just going to be about how to maintain the look of your car. Viewer might requested that video, so I thought the perfect time to show them. So for now, I'm gonna make this other video. I'm gonna get started on this Civic. It's brand new, my first brand new car. I want to make sure that I can preserve it and try to maintain the look of it for years to come.